now I'll introduce Jainam. Jainam is the CMO of Oizom. Oizom is one of the pretty interesting startup which is able to get value from a lot of global accelerator programs. So theme is around that. So if you have any specific questions, you can ask those questions in the chat, or you can speak up whenever you get that opportunity. So Jainam, stage is yours. Briefly yourself.
Thank you so much, Jatin, for getting me on the platform. It's always a pleasure coming back to eChai. I remember we started eChai like I think 4 or 5 years ago when we first met. And Jatin, you've been with us since the beginning, since when we incorporated Oizom to where we are today. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jainam and I am the CMO and co-founder at Oizom. At Oizom, what we have is a sensor-based technology that monitors air quality and various environmental parameters for cities. So we work primarily with cities and government bodies to help them and enable them to understand how the environment is around the cities and what are the steps they can take to control and mitigate the problem. Talking about global accelerators and getting into the entire global ecosystem. So because we work on a very huge problem, which is environment, and pollution is a problem not just limited to our country, but I think globally everywhere pollution plays a very major role. So I think that is why we were able to tap into the right places. But some of the key factors which I think played a very major role for us getting into the global accelerators is at attending events, getting into exhibitions, meeting the right people, and then one thing leading to the other. So our the first accelerator that we were a part of was the SparkLabs IoT, which is a South Korea based accelerator. So I happened to meet the folks of SparkLabs during one of the events in France. So there was this event in Paris called Hello Tomorrow, which is a huge IoT event that happens every year. And that is where I happened to meet the founder of SparkLabs, and that Bradley, and he was very much interested in what Oizom is doing. And he's like, why don't you apply for our program, and it would be interesting to see what we can do together. And that is how Oizom got into the whole SparkLabs Global Accelerator. And SparkLabs was a huge help and a booster for our initial days. When you need a lot of mentorship, it wasn't about the amount of seed funding that they provided us. Of course, money plays a major role, but another major role is the kind of mentors that you onboard. So SparkLabs is one of the major reasons why we were able to develop our tech stack on the IBM Watson intelligent platforms, primarily because IBM's global VP was one of our mentors, and she would guide us on what way to go forward, what things to keep in mind. So I think those are some very key things to keep in mind when it comes to applying the global. You have to identify your niche and where and how it can assist you with getting into the program. After SparkLabs, I think there were a lot of global government programs that are usually happening, trying to promote businesses and cross-border transition. So one such program is the La French Tech. So in fact, La French Tech has just opened its applications for 2019-20. So if any of you are willing to try your market in the European ecosystem, I would definitely recommend you guys to try the La French Tech program. So to give you a quick brief about what La French Tech is. So La French Tech is a global program by the French government that promotes foreign startups to come and try their business in France. They give you a 4-year residence permit to stay there, and 1 year of office space, and grant money to try and experience your business there. At the end of the year, of course, you can see if it makes sense for you to stay in the country and grow your business there, or you just want to move back to your native country. In our case, French Tech was one of the major boosts for us to get into a global market, and that's how within a short span of 3.5 years, we have been able to tap and market our solutions and have partners across more than 10 countries because of the La French Tech. In fact, this has a lot of value, not just in the terms of the money, but also the name itself. It's such a huge brand that you go to any European country and you tell them that you're a part of La French Tech. It opens a lot of doors for you. In addition to that, La French Tech is a part of every major event. So it was through La French Tech that Oizom was able to, we would never have been at such a young stage. We would have not been able to afford maybe a booth at the CES or the World Smart City Expo, where the exhibition costs are extremely high. But La French Tech, of course, they have a huge booth space. So it gives a lot of opportunities and chances to market yourself. Plus, because being a government organization and we work very closely with governments, we didn't have to knock on government doors, but rather, when there would be government meetups or such hackathons, we would get special invites. So French Tech was a huge boost for us in that way. In fact, when the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, launched Let's Make Our Planet Great Again initiative, which was primarily focused on climate change and sustainable development, we were invited as one of the startups, and that is what led us to the World Alliance Solutions members. So these are 1,000 companies, 1,000 solutions globally, which are clean, profitable, and they do an impact, but they're also making money. That's their entire idea. To give you a quick recap of what World Alliance Solution is, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2013-14, there was this company that was flying a solar plane across the globe. And they had 3 or 4 stops in India. I think one in Bangalore, one in Ahmedabad, and one in Bombay, and one in Delhi. So this is the same company. So that it is a part of, it's the same company that's trying, it's an organization that's trying to bring people who are doing profitable business and impact all together. So all these things, see, I'll tell you, when it comes to global programs, it's of course the money is very attractive because you convert it into INR. But in addition, the ideologies, the mindset that you receive from the people, the way people think about it is really interesting, and you get a different perspective of how the entire world functions and how the various ideas that people can bring to your mind. We just last year we graduated from Katapult Accelerator, which is the world's biggest impact accelerator. This year, I think they had more than 1,800 applications, out of which 9 to 11 companies are selected every year. And these are all in the impact space. So it's either environmental, societal, or economical impact. If you are doing, that's when you get to be a part of Katapult. Katapult is based out of Norway, the clean tech hub of the world. And this is one place where one of the major takeaways, it's a 3-month residential program. So you have to stay in the country, go to, be a part of the accelerator. And there are day-to-day sessions where they get mentors fly from all across the world, from Singapore to San Francisco to France to London. Guys are like, they are mentors in various fields that fly down. They have intense sessions. There's one-to-one sessions with your respective mentors who help you from scratch, from the most basic things like developing your pitch deck to extreme difficult and long-term beneficial things like your business canvas model and how to make your sales pitch and sales model. So Catapult is one place where we actually realized that, oh my God, I never looked at my business this way too, because it's more like a horse blind. When you're working on your idea, your baby, it's like a horse blind. You just look at it from one single perspective. But being a part of such accelerators, of course, the mentors are there, the team is there, who gives you various ideas and various thought processes on how to look at your idea things. Plus, there are equally competent companies along with you. So, the interaction between respective founders also gives a lot of ideas and insights. In fact, I had a chance to write an entire list of learnings that I learned from Catapult, which I'll share in the chat box maybe in a while. So yeah, that's a brief about what our journey has been so far in 3.5 years until now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jainam. So guys, if you have any questions, you can speak up or you can ask in the chat. We'll take up those questions. I'll start with 1 or 2 questions that people had asked in the email. So Jainam, you get to know about the programs. So right. You easily get selected, or what are what are the things you have to do so that you get selected? Or how has been your journey? Like you applied to this or you got selected, you applied to 150, then you got selected among 5 people.
I would say the applications so when we started in the beginning, when we started Oizom, my target was that every week I have to apply to at least 3 accelerators, irrespective of how I manage my time, how I manage my work. I would usually do it on Sundays. I remember I usually used to do it on Sundays when I used to find time, but it was my target to apply for at least 3 of them, because it's a very competitive market. The number of startups that get selected in comparison to the number of startups that are applying is extremely high. So it's a very competitive thing, and you have to be very, very well rehearsed. But I'll tell you, it's not more about the number of the quantity of places you apply to. It's about the type of content that you fill in. So I identified this hack is that 80% of the questions in all the accelerator forms are the same, or more or less the same. So what I did is actually created an Excel sheet with one question with multiple answers. So let's say, for example, if I'm applying for an IoT accelerator, my entire pitch would be more focused towards IoT development. While I'm applying for something that's related to climate change, the pitch would have, and the entire idea would have to shift towards something more about sustainable development, making an impact in the world. So I think those minor things play a very major role when it comes to selection, because your vision, your thoughts have to align with what the accelerator is expecting or what the program is expecting. And there is no harm in having multiple visions, right? Like, of course we want to pioneer in the IoT technology when it comes to monitoring solutions, but on the same hand we also want to be one of the people who are making an impact, driving the change of better healthcare, cleaner energy. That is also what is in our mind, right? So I think it is very important to identify where you put what in the entire forms and questions that they ask. And that is just the beginning. I think that is the first step when it comes to application, that is getting selected or getting into the second round, which is then of course the video and the telephonic interview. But I think that is more if you have your vision and mission clear about where you want to take your business and how you want to drive it forward and what you expect from them. So this is one thing. A lot of, I think, I've identified, this is one thing that we in India have, is that we are a bit hesitant when it comes to asking for help. They're like, yaar, kaisa lagega? First call mein puchunga, how will it feel? But I think this has been appreciated a lot, when I say that, okay, why do you want to apply for it? Like, this, all this is what we have done, but we don't understand this and we are stuck here and think you guys can assist us the best. And I think this has come out to be very helpful. And the best part is they remember even after the call, and sometimes even if you don't get selected for that specific accelerator, they would take the efforts to connect you with the person who can assist you. So eventually your idea of solving the problem or getting assistance is usually met.
Awesome, very well said. So guys, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat or you can speak up. I'll ask one more question and you can ask anything that you would wanted to ask. So there are multiple pieces about applying to a accelerator program. One is you either fill up the form online or you send your pitch deck. The second piece comes about sometimes one-on-one meeting or one-on-one those Skype calls or something. So what are the things to take care of in each of the process? So while you are filling up the form, while you are presenting a deck, what are those learnings that you got that you could recommend someone? And in-person meetings or Skype calls while you being interviewed by them.
Right. So we'll start one thing at a time. I think we'll start with the first, which is usually the first step of the process, which is the form filling. So as I specifically said, form filling, you have to keep in mind that who is going to read the form. If it is a Techstars IoT, you wouldn't want to talk much about just the impact part of it, but you would want to talk about more that how your technology is setting you apart or something on that side. But so I think that is very important. Then another major thing is that make sure your answers are very crisp. So initially I used to write long paragraphs, and if the word limit is 3,000, I would make sure that I've written at least 2,500 words. But then I realized that's not how it is actually. It's more about writing crisp and to be very precise, because from that person's perspective, if you think he is shortlisting you out of thousands of applications, so he has to read all of them. So in such cases, I think it is very important that you make it very crisp and to the point, rather than just trying to fill up all the necessary space. So that is when it comes to form filling. Now deck and video, I think Jatin, video is another very important thing that I've found. It's usually there in all the applications, is the 1-minute video of the founders about how you guys came together and why you want to do what you're doing. So I think that plays a very important role, because for Catapult, I remember Ankit and we were in Paris and we actually shot a video. So we just got this idea that we have to file for an application, and we shot a video right outside the Eiffel Tower saying that this is where the climate change actions were taken, but no impact has been done. So something that they can relate to, because if it is just a normal video, I'm not saying that you put this high production value or anything. We usually shoot all the videos that we have shot are done from a laptop webcam, but try to make sure at least the script is intriguing enough that that person takes the efforts to spend 70-80 seconds on that video to hear what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
Then the third part is the deck. So I think this is very, very important, that deck has to be visually appealing and not just too much content, but let the pictures speak for you. That is what I would say, because usually when it is a lot of content and I have to like make my eyes smaller to read each and everything in the, like, I don't know, Arial font size 10, that becomes difficult. So I think that is very important, that let the picture speak, and I think it plays a very major role. And I think the format for the deck, of course, it's already on the eChai platform, but it's usually the same: the title slide, the problem, what solution you're offering, how it sets you apart, competition, revenues so far if you have any, total market size, team achievements, and then
Yeah.
end slide. I think this is
So
pretty
we did a
standard.
dedicated webinar around that topic on how to create that effective pitch deck.
And I think it's also present on the eChai platform, right? There is, I think, one of the threads has all this information.
So Jainam, one another tricky one is the visas. Do you get visas easily because you are part of a program, or getting a visa is a separate task in itself?
No, you usually get invite letters, so getting a visa isn't difficult at all. In fact, for instance, this December we were a part of the Next Big Idea contest, which is run by Zone Startups.
Yeah.
And so usually in India, because of the high number of applications to Canada, your visa takes anywhere between 20 to 45 days to arrive. But because we had a letter from the government of Alberta and government of Ontario, my passport, from the day I submitted my passport, I received my passport back in 4 days.
Wow.
And in fact, this guy told me, sir, इतना जल्दी किसी का नहीं आता, आपका पता नहीं कैसे आ गया. So
Okay.
I think that makes it very easy. At least for India, it does. I think there hasn't been any problem with all the places that we have traveled to where visa is something that is difficult.
Okay, I'll keep on asking him questions, but anybody has any question, we can take up one question from the participants. You can mention in the chat, or you can just pick up. Anybody who wants to ask any question. Anyone? Probably you would have muted yourself, so you can unmute yourself and speak up. Else I'll continue with my series of questions for Jainam. Okay, so yes, anybody? Okay, I'll continue with my series of questions. So Jainam, so there are a lot of programs. So they would have written that they gave you access to the money, they gave you the fund and everything. But
Your voice is breaking, Jatin. Sorry.
okay, I'll repeat that part. So each accelerator program would have things mentioned on what kind of support they will give to the startups. But
Right.
what kind of efforts you have to put in extra efforts to get those value? Does that happen so easily, or you have to really follow up with them? So anything you can share on your experience on that line?
See, I'll tell you, this is exact. Getting into an accelerator program, it is quite similar to that. When you're in a school, the school is there to teach you, but then you have to show the willingness to learn. If you aren't willing to learn, there is always that gap that is there. So I'll talk about my experience with Katapult, because Katapult is where I actually it was a residential accelerator, and I spent 3 months, with the team, interacting on a day-to-day basis. And it was so nice, because we had this every month, weekly meetings. Every Wednesday there was a meeting where you share your KPIs. So even if you are running the company, apart from that, what is your KPIs would be, what learnings did you do in this 1 week? What are the new connections that you made? Because you're living away from the team, you're sacrificing quite a lot, when your entire team is back in India and you are in some other country, some different time zone. So of course there has to be a marginal value to that. So they used to quantify that quite well, of the new connections made, new opportunities, or new use cases that you have identified, or overall what is your self growth that you have done. So I think Catapult was one case, where they would ask you, but then to ensure that you grow, you learn, you make connections, you always have to ping people. And I think that is same everywhere. Even in India, if you want something to get done, you have to keep on pinging people, right? Because they are doing multiple things. So someone wouldn't come to you like, hey, let me help you. Of course, once or twice he would do that. If you need any help, let me know. But then you have to go to them for that specific thing.
Okay, and do they give everything for free, or what are their expectations from your side?
So when it comes to accelerator programs, it's usually against equity. Of course, you have to give a chunk of your company to them. While the French Tech program, that was a government-sponsored program. So that is similar to what we have in the Startup Gujarat scheme, Startup Gujarat Assistance Scheme. It is free of cost, but they do expect you to settle down in France, of course, now that they've invested so much in you.
Okay. So what would be your advice to a lot of founders who are trying to figure out, okay, there are a lot of global accelerator programs. So which program is right fit for me? How do you identify, or what do you recommend?
So there is this platform called f6s.com. I don't know how to open my chat box. I could write it.
I'll share it with everyone.
Yeah. So I think F6S has this really nice way where you can, actually shortlist and put in your what do you call your preference, like you're into IoT tech or you are into healthcare, smart cities, XYZ, and it will identify the which are the right platforms for you,
Okay, this
and which
one.
are the right programs for you also. Which platform? So is it a government grant? Is it a accelerator program? Is it an incubation? Is it a boot camp? So it does that very well, and it's really well structured. So F6S is, in fact, most of the applications that we have done are through F6S, and of course a lot of national level events that you go. Like if you go to GES here in India, GES happens every year. GES has so many incubators and accelerators coming down from all across the globe who would try to assist you. Another thing that I've seen in the recent past is all these co-working spaces like T-Hub, WeWork. They also are partnered with a lot of global accelerators and partner programs through which you can tap into the system.
Okay. Awesome. So guys, if you have any questions, you can speak up or you can ask in the chat. I'll continue with my questions that I have for Jainam because there are a lot of founders who had. So Jainam, in your journey of being part of a lot of things, so which are the kind of support that you needed from people to get that right? So like in terms of preparing a deck, who supported you or what was your ask to the people? You can share something on those lines.
So one very interesting thing that we learned is that how we Indians have our deck and our pitch on demo days is very similar to how it is done in the US. Very high energetic, pumping up the numbers. You're super excited. You go with that josh, which was quite the opposite when it comes to European countries. But I think that was very important. And there was one of the mentors and partners at Catapult called Sean. So he had been doing, he was a serial entrepreneur, two successful exits, and now he was there assisting people. So those are the things, that how do you speak, and then the importance of emotional value when you talk about critical problems. Like for instance, ours is a very emotionally attached problem when it comes to climate change, because everyone is suffering from that problem. You don't have a choice when it comes to air quality. So I think those things about Peach was one place where we got a lot of help. And then deck, of course. See, as I said, Arial font size 10, you don't know what an ideal deck looks like. I had been pitching with a deck for I think about 6 months, and then I go to Catapult, they're like, this could be 20 times much better if you just put in these three things. And I'm like, okay. For instance, a very small thing that all of us tend to ignore is that on your deck, every page should have a small place where your email, the founder's email ID is written. Because for instance, if you're presenting it on a stage and somebody just clicks a photo of one particular slide, he has to get that email ID of yours. So if he wants to reach out to you after that, so these are very small things that we tend to disregard or don't keep, like we don't even think about it. But this was some very interesting insight. Another major thing that helped us was look of the whole look of the way we looked at our business. Because India, or like again, in Southeast Asia, Middle East, and maybe North America, they're more focused on the hardware side, where they want something tangible. While in Europe, it's more towards their inclination when it comes to our product. I'm talking specifically about Oizom. Their inclination was more towards the data analytics and the visualization platforms that we offered. So the ideas and the insights that we got on how we can improve and empower our data platform, that was remarkable from what we got in from the folks in Norway and France and all across Europe.
Okay, so one piece is about you are building your business, and there are these accelerator programs with a very different set of vision that you would have. You are taking part in them because there is certain benefit. So how do you balance that part, that building a business and taking support from these enablers?
So see, it is very crucial for anyone who is running a business. See, one thing that is free in the startup world is advice. Everyone is free. Advice is free. Everyone is willing to give you advice. But it is very important from a founder's perspective of how much you want to gain, how much you want to take out of that, and how you want to incorporate into your business. You would see. I would honestly say, don't expect that you would go to an accelerator, a mentor would tell you something, you will implement it in your company overnight and things will change. That is not going to happen. You actually have to retrospect on all that is said and then try to put it practically that, okay, does this make sense when I talk about my specific company? For instance, um, he could be telling you about, let's say, a 4-hour work week or something like that. But those things don't work in countries like ours. I mean, that is not. I do not. I don't. I mean, I don't think that would be possible in a country like India to have a 4-hour per day work week. So it
Okay.
is very important for you to identify, how much you want to gain out of that and how you want to implement it into the entire ecosystem.
Okay, and how the association remains once those accelerator program gets over? Like most of these are 3 months, 6 months programs. After that, what happens? How do you stay in touch, or how frequent is that engagement?
So, see, when it comes to most of the accelerators, they always want to keep in touch and know what the startups are doing. And then, if you're doing well enough, they would want to pump in money in the next round because that is where the main game is. But both the accelerators that we were a part of, they have these uh, quarterly updates that they expect. So they have their own forms that you have to fill up every quarter with more like a report of what you've been doing and what are the updates. So that is what is done from their end to ensure that the startups stay in touch. But what we do as an extra effort from our end is send monthly updates to all the key stakeholders in that specific through that specific program that we met. So of course the investors of the program and the program managers, but also the mentors whom we've been connected with in the sales. They
Okay.
tend to remember you, and they can assist you. They're like, okay, yeah, Oizom. So you are constantly live in their brains. So whenever they think environment, then okay, Oizom, so they can assist you.
Okay. So sometimes these programs they sound too good to be true, right? The great offer, easy access to everything. So what are the things a founder should take care of while being part of those? What are the downsides of being
So I
part of?
think one of the most important things is the term sheet or the SHA. Make sure you get it reviewed once, twice, thrice by, if needed, spend extra for get a good lawyer to read it. But because that is where the entire catch is, right? You don't want to be, because see, accelerators and incubators are at a very niche, at a very early stage in a startup. You are quite new into the field. You don't have huge valuations or something when you're applying for a accelerator program. So you have to be very careful of what terms you're signing, because you don't want these terms to come hurting your back when you are going for a pre-series A or an angel.
Okay, awesome. So Arpan has asked the question, how your product and business model evolved over a time.
So one major thing is that when we started, I think initially it was more, as I said, hardware focused, and we were just focused into air quality. But then over a period of time, by interacting and meeting people from all walks of life and hearing a lot of from them, we've now expanded to 27 environmental parameters that we offer. For instance, had we been just constrained to India, snow monitoring would never have been a part of our solution. But now that we were expanding globally, we are seeing a lot of problems, including where snow monitoring was also important. So those things helped us develop. And then also we were initially trying, also a subscription based model for our product where, but then we realized and got a lot of insights saying that, in a capital intensive business, subscription model doesn't work the best, or it's not usually preferable when it comes to because our hardware is highly capital intensive. So it's not preferred. So then we had to pivot back to what we were initially doing, that is a sales plus AMC model. And when it comes to software, I cannot even, it's like countless improvements and feedbacks that we've gotten from people. This is just an idea that, hey, this is your terminal is really nice. How about if you do this? How about if you add that? So those things you have to keep in mind, that, okay, yeah, probably you don't want to incorporate the changes immediately, but it's always good to keep a list of all the things that are going on. And then when the right time comes in, you can plug it in.
Okay, Sagar has asked, we have a service-based startup and right now we are still finalizing the business model. Does it make sense to apply for accelerator program?
Yes, definitely. I mean, see, a lot of help can be offered when it comes to business models and all this, because see, might well these are people who interact with startups from early startups to well-established company on a day-to-day basis. Plus, a lot of mentors have years of experience working in this domain, and like if, for example, it's a it's a software startup, right? So there will be probably 10, 15 software companies that they've already invested in. They've had them shape their business models, so maybe they can put in value or bring in value, which probably, even if if we sit together and brainstorm in a room, wouldn't come. But then for them, it is something because of the experience that they have.
And just add on to what Jainam has said, it is important for you to do good research about various accelerator programs, what are they offering, and at that point in time, what do you need? You should not apply to an accelerator just because they have a good offer. You would have a certain ask. Why do you need that? Do you need that because you don't have money and want to make a product, or do you need that because you are looking for a founder? Do you need those extra because you want a certain brand to be associated? So you would have a certain need to grow your business, and in that need, which accelerator fits in. If you go by that route, then that increases of you getting a very good success with those programs. AJ has asked, how much equity does accelerator take?
It is very variable. It is very variable of how much an equity it takes, but it is somewhere between 3 to 10%, somewhere in between.
Yeah. And then there are a lot of these corporate accelerators which don't take any equity. You get it everything for free. You invest is your time, and later on they could use their brand to tell their potential customers, and they are supporting startups. If you have any more questions, you can ask in the chat. I'll continue with my one or two questions. Vanch has asked, do accelerator programs help if, let's say, your target market is only in India or the state you are staying in?
I think in that case, I would personally suggest that you try not a global but a domestic accelerator. And in India has equally good accelerator programs, which can help you and tap into the market, because someone from another country won't be having the right idea of how the Indian mindset thinks or how the Indian mindset works, but rather someone who is a local here, someone who has that 30, 40, 50 years experience working in India knows the hook and crook of the Indian market. So I think India has in fact several great accelerator programs and boot camps which can be useful if your target market is limited to India.
And once yesterday only we did this program around government startup support schemes. If you are in a particular state or a particular city, there could be a lot of government related schemes, or would be a lot of co-working spaces and a lot of these corporate accelerators which are coming up. So probably we can speak individually, then I can help you get information about some of these people who could be relevant to your business. So folks, if you have any more questions, you can ask in the chat. I'll continue asking a few more questions to Jainam. So Jainam, one of the things, sometimes when it becomes very exhaustive, like you are part of multiple accelerators, you keep the relationship. So are there any hacks that you created to keep up the relationship portion with all these partners that you work with? Anything you can share?
So I think one most important thing is that we have religiously, since we got back from Accelerator Norway in last June, we have this religious activity of sharing monthly updates with everyone, so that there is no chance of missing out on someone. So we actually have our own so in our CRM I've created a tag for monthly updates, and I ensure that every month I'm sending updates to all of these people. So not just for the sake of keeping them updated, but also to ensure that I don't lose any strings of all these amazing people that I've been in touch with, because you might not need these people every day. Like for instance, I wouldn't have the need to interact with the VP of IBM Watson on a day-to-day basis. But sometimes when you need really great insights, or maybe sometimes when they have someone interesting to connect with, you should be on top of their heads. So that is why I've made this as a religious activity, that no matter what happens, before the first of every month, or at least in the first week of every month, I am sending a monthly update and my roadmap of what's going on in and around Oizom.
Okay, awesome. So last 5 minutes of this conversation, if you have any questions, you can speak up, or I'll ask last 1 or 2 questions. You can mention in the chat, or you can just speak up. Ankit, you want to speak up? Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Specific.
Okay. So my question is, like my startup is on idea phase, right? So how, like right now I'm going for seed funding. So I just want to know from this, how to apply for this accelerator and all stuff, this process. I just want to know in just briefly.
Okay, we briefly covered it. You joined us a little late. I would encourage you to look at the video once I upload, but then we can give your response.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think, of course, see, I think Jatin rightly mentioned is that you have to be very sure about why you want to join the accelerator program. Is it because of the money? Is it because of you want to develop a business model? You want to identify new market segments? That is very important of why you want to join an accelerator. And based on that, there are several platforms online which assist you to identify which platform suits your company and your idea of and what you want to actually achieve. So one of them, which I said, is f6s.com,
Mm-hmm.
which is a portal that where you put in your startup details and additional couple of other things, and then they would suggest you which are the accelerators and incubators and bootcamps that are happening globally, and you can apply to either of them.
So best recommend way is instead of going for idea phase, first create our prototype and just
At least an MVP, not if not a prototype, at least an MVP. I think should be is a better option. I think Jatin, of course, has more experience and he can share his insights on this.
And I would always encourage you to do a pretty good groundwork. So once you understand what these accelerator programs stand for, why they have started, so a lot of answers that you would have, a lot of questions that you would have for them would get automatically answered. Because
Right.
you would say that it is open for MVP, but if you say that historically they have selected startups who already had a traction, then you know your answer. That even though you can apply, but you might not get selected. So I would always encourage to do a amazing research about a lot of this organization. And thanks to social media and a lot of these networks, you would be able to identify people associated with them, either their alumni startups or their people who are working with them. So you'll not have that problem of information. Probably the challenge would come of like you're not getting the terms that you would want from them. If that is the problem, that is the right problem to have, rather than you not having information about them.
Right.
Last
Correct.
2-3 questions, and then we will end. So Jainam, we missed out on one part. Typically, we have this to encourage people to ask good questions. We ask speakers to answer reward. We didn't do it in the beginning. That's why we had less questions, I believe. Jainam, just to do academic curiosity, which question you like apart from me?
I didn't get you. Which question?
So, which question you like the most?
I think the one where the idea was about when, at what stage I should apply. I think someone asked this. I think about when I should apply. When should I apply for the program, and at what
Okay.
stage and where I should apply if my.
Sagar has asked something. So Sagar, you can reach out to Jainam. Jainam, give some gift to Sagar later on. Nishi has asked. We'll take last 1 or 2 questions. Which countries are preferable Which countries have preferable environment for startups? Like you travel to multiple countries. So what is your observation?
Sorry. Which country is preferable for?
Startups.
So if you want to expand your business, of course, the first point being that where is your target customer located? But let's say you are working on a product that is it's not country centric like a software as a SaaS, for example. That's not country centric. That solution needs everywhere. Then I think the ease of doing business when it comes to globally, I think for me, based on my experience, the ease of doing business and making a quick sale, I think Canada would top the list because, of course, there's no language barriers and the people are extremely friendly when it comes to Canada. So Canada definitely tops the list. But when it comes to European countries, I think the Scandinavians are the first. That's like your trial bed, your test bed. Because even a company as huge as Apple, so that's what I realized when I went to Norway and Sweden, that even Apple tries all its first products in Norway because of the purchasing power parity that is there. So for them, they don't really work on that idea that itna hi budget hai to ye try nahi kar sakte. They're always ready to experiment and try new things. So I think
Jainam, specifically for environment startup.
Environment startup, I would definitely give. I think it should be somewhere in the Middle East because that is where they're facing huge problems. So Middle East is the GCC. All 13 of them, they have huge problems with environment, and all of them are trying to, like do or die, do anything to bring a solution to this problem. And so I think, but again, UAE has a lot of complications when it comes to environment startups and importing stuff. So I would suggest maybe a less regulatory country like a Kuwait or an Oman or Qatar maybe. And then maybe once you have some traction in those countries, you can focus on say Saudi Arabia and UAE.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. With this, we are coming to the end of the program. And Jain, I'm so happy to see your progress.
Thank you so much.
You become a very good speaker. So we'll do another version around this. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Tomorrow, I'll upload the video and also some of the links that we mentioned, brief information about them. And we have in-person meeting startup event like eChai events happening next week in multiple cities. So if you go to eChai.in/events, you'll be able to discover a lot of this programs. And thank you so much, Jainam, and thank you so much, everyone. If this would have been a physical event, I would ask everybody to clap. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
I will close the meeting now.